I think that all my 23 years of experience prepared me to this moment. The emotional reaction was huge from all sides.
That fucking video. Okay, what about the children in Palestine?
This is the face of the hostages.
What were some of the most unusual places that you saw your posters hung up?
Times Square.
I understand that it was really your campaign that helped to push the government to make a deal.
Emotional messaging works.
Welcome. Today I have a fascinating marketing professional to tell the story of arguably the world's largest guerrilla campaign and how one person helped to inspire a movement. That is my guest today. At the time of our recording, at the time that we are recording this, there are still 136 people being held captive in Gaza after October 7th. And the person that I am bringing on is the person that helped to launch the worldwide kidnapping posters campaign. Now, no matter what your politics is, this story is about the marketing campaign that captured the attention of the world, the good, the bad, what was effective, what was not effective. So if you are a business professional, this is something that probably will be of interest to you. And with that, I will bring in Tal from Yavne, Israel. Hi,
Hi,
welcome.
how are you? Nice to meet you.
Nice to see you again. So you are the creative visionary behind the kidnapped posters. Let's start by telling us a little bit about your marketing agency. I know it's like a boutique agency.
Yeah, I have a boutique agency called Giraff. I have it for the last 23 years. And we are expert in branding, professional commercial branding for companies. And we do the graphic design, language, strategic branding, and all the needs of marketing that companies needs for their marketing look and feel. So this is what we do professionally in our studio, in our company.
So your company is a professional commercial venture. It's not a political advocacy group or anything like that.
No, we never dealt with political issues. Most of our clients are startups, industrial companies, big companies, agriculture, seeds, irrigation, companies like that. That the marketing is all over the world. So this is what we do. We usually start with the strategic messaging before we start with branding, and we'll probably will talk about it, but the same process we did with this campaign, the same professional process.
So let's start from the beginning. How did you first decide that you wanted to do something, anything, before you even decided what you were doing?
So it began in the 8th of October. For everyone, it was, of course, it started on the 7th of October. It was a horrible Saturday for me and for all of us here in Israel. And at the 8th of October in the morning, I went to my studio and I was thinking to myself that I must do something. I didn't know what. I knew that I cannot continue the same way that I continue before, that I worked before. I cannot continue starting this week in a regular way. I knew that I need to do something. I knew it needs to be something related to my professional work, to my skills, to my experience, but I had no idea what to do. This is how it started. On that day, late,
Brainstorming.
yeah, with myself, and we were all, with me and my team, we were disturbed. We weren't focused on work, and also clients. Nobody called, nobody asked for anything. It was a big mess. And I was going online, looking at the social website, Facebook. I saw a message from Nitzan Mintz. Nitzan Mintz is an artist. I didn't know her at that time. I didn't know her in person, but I knew her work, and she was in New York. She went to New York with her partner, Dede. They are both street artists. They create graffitis and they famous in this work. And she felt like me. I saw that she felt like me. She said, we need to do something. We must do something. We cannot continue our artwork now. And we want someone to join us, someone from the creative fields, and from someone from the graphic field. And I sent her a message, and everything else is history. At that night, we met on like brainstorming, the three of us, Nitzan, Dede, and me. We knew that we want to do something that combine our skills together.
At that point, what did you expect and what did you think you were getting into?
I had no idea. One of the things in this campaign in the last 4 months, I would say, that is very different from my professional life, that I had no idea what I'm getting into. And I thought it will be, I didn't know how big it's going to be. I just knew that I need to do something for me and for the hostages. So I knew that the focus needs to be the hostages, because that issue was like burning in our bones. As you said, we are not political. The Palestinian issue is very, very difficult to solve. We knew we cannot deal with that, but the hostages for us was a new thing. We never experienced here in Israel such a brutal situation with taking civilians hostages, not soldiers, from their home, from their beds, children, babies, and of course all the brutal other action that we were aware of. And we knew we wanted to make the world know and understand, but most of all know and see what happened here. We knew this is the first thing we want to work on, but we didn't know what at the beginning.
So what were those first 2 weeks like for you? You connected with Nitzan and Dede, and then you were off.
Yeah. So the first 2 weeks I think, they were the busiest weeks in my life. At that evening, after our first conversation, we did a brainstorming, deciding that we're going to deal in our work with the hostages situation. We took advantage of that Nitzan and Dede are in New York. We knew that we need to do it out there in the world to make people understand the situation and what's happening here. And we knew we wanted to take like my experience with branding and graphic design and language design and their experience of the street activity, and to combine it together to kind of a street advertising that is related in the look and feel, in the way, on the missing ads of missing persons in America.
How did you settle on that? Why did you decide that? Anybody who's ever been to Israel, like milk carton is not historical to Israel. Israel historically had like bags of milk. I think you have milk cartons now, but like bags of milk that you put in a plastic container. So why was this something that you
We were very
recognized?
familiar with the culture of missing language, missing persons advertising, and milk carton. I think because of the culture, the American culture, and we saw it a lot in movies, so it was familiar. I was surprised at that night. I did the research to see how it looks like, and how I was very surprised to see that it has a very unique and specific look and feel. When I Googled or I made a research online for missing persons advertising, they look the same. And I had no idea. And for me, that is a very strong light professionally, because when you see something that works, that has a specific language, that people know culturally, you don't need to invent the wheel. You don't need to create something new and to educate your audience. And when I saw it, it was very clear to me that I'm going to go to that direction. I'm going to take the missing persons advertising and language, learn it, take of it the main rules of colors, fonts, layout, proportions, how they use the text, how they use the image, and to use it in our language. It was very intuitive to me. I didn't need to think about it that much.
When I look at it, for somebody that lived through 9/11 and was in this part of the world when that happened, I remember seeing those missing posters of 9/11. They look very similar to the kidnap posters. Was that on purpose, or is that just because it's part of the template?
So, as part of the research, I saw that the language is very exclusive and very defined, and I decided to use it for our work because I wanted people on the streets in New York. We started in New York because Dede and Itzan were there. And we wanted people to see those posters, a little bit to mislead even, not to really explain what we're talking about. And we were imagining that the streets of New York will be full of those posters and people were going on and say, well, what's going on? Like there are lots of posters, lots of missing persons. What's going on? And then after they go closer and read the text, they understand what we're talking. So when you when you see it, you see that there is no Israel flag, blue and white, the colors, the national colors of Israel, nothing of that were on the posters. We didn't want people to avoid or to say, okay, it's not about us. We wanted people to feel like people are people all over the world. Civilians, families, babies are the same all over the world. And we wanted people to feel that way, to address the posters in that way without relating it to Israel.
From a marketing perspective, you wanted it to be kind of a global thought, not specific to Israel on purpose.
Yeah, that was very clear to me. If we will mention Israel, we did mention Israel in the in the text, explaining what we're talking, explaining what happened at the 7th of October. But it was very clear that if we will put a big flag, or if Israel will be in front or in a very visual, most of the people will avoid it.
Because they'll say, this doesn't relate to me. I'm not
This is far
connected.
away, this
It's
is
so far
Israel.
away.
This is not. And when you connect it with the missing persons, missing people, missing children in New York or in United States, you understand in the back of your mind that it relates to you also, because now it's in Israel, next time it will be all over.
Now everybody knows what it is, but at the time, especially that first night when first of all, you had to gather information and
Yeah.
then you had to put it all together. What were some of the challenges that you faced in the beginning?
The first 24 hours were a total chaos. Nobody knew here in Israel the names or who was kidnapped, who was murdered. There was a lot of confusion, and we didn't have anyone to contact with to get this information. It took like about 48 hours to the country even to start like acting in an organized way. So what we did at the first 24 hours, we gathered pictures from the social network, from the internet. We asked people. I personally posted on Facebook asking for people, send me pictures of people that that was kidnapped. And I got lots of pictures. Today I can say that most of them were wrong. Most of them weren't kidnapped or were killed or were missing. It took a lot of time to understand who is where and what happened to him. But we decided at the beginning, we took those pictures. We didn't put any names because we didn't have the names. I guessed the age. I look at the picture and I was saying, okay, she looks 48, she looks 60, she looks a grandma, and we added a description like a mom, a grandma, a father, twins, because we saw a picture of twins, just to give a personal touch because we didn't have any information. And all the information I took from the pictures.
What were some of the ethical questions that you were dealing with? Because now you're getting information, you don't know if it's accurate or not. Were you asking yourself some ethical questions like, should I put this out there if I don't know if it's accurate?
After we put together a file with 20 posters, I stopped for a second. I said, wait a second, do we really need to publish it now? Maybe we should wait. Maybe we should get confirmation. And also, it's the first time for me professionally that I take pictures from the internet. I'm not talking about children pictures that you must get approval for using them. And I never did such a thing. It's not ethical, it's not legal, it's nothing professional of this action. But after thinking about it and discussing it with my team and with Nitzan and Dede, we decided to go on because we were in war. We understood from the first minute that we are in war, and war has its own rules. So we knew, again, intuitively, that we need to go fast. We shouldn't wait.
Did you make the right decision?
Definitely. Yeah. Yeah. Because we saw what happened after 24 hours. So the beginning was tough. Then at Nitzan, they printed for like thousands of posters and they went to the streets and they didn't receive the reaction they expect. People didn't want to take part of it. People were ignoring. Also, people like saying it doesn't belong here, or it's nothing to do with me, or why should I help you, stuff like that. So the first hours were very frustrating for us, and they called me and they said, we think it's not working, we need to think about something else. And I said, okay. And it was night and they went to sleep. And on the next day, it was a miracle, because what we did before they went to sleep, we posted a post again saying, if you're in New York and you want to take action, if you live here, you're Israeli, or anyone that wants to do something, here's the link. We put the link of the 21st posters on a Dropbox. Here's the link. You can download it, print it, and it's very simple. Just go to the street and stick it. And what happened the next day, when they woke up, they were amazed that the streets of New York was full of the posters. It was everywhere. And at that moment, we knew that we did the right thing, not waiting.
Did they document it? Like, what did you get? Pictures, videos, which
Yeah,
I'm sure it then started
yeah, it
getting
was like
spread.
pictures, and people tagged us, and videos of lines and lines of posters on the subway. They started on the subway. It's not legal also in New York to hang out posters on the streets. There are places for that. So people, they didn't document themselves. They were a little bit afraid and they went during the night, but it was everywhere, and we got the pictures. And then I in personal got a lot of calls and texts from the families and from the kibbutzim that asked us. They called me and said, we saw what you did in New York, please add our loved ones, they are missing. And
What
that
was
was,
the reaction? Like, were they happy that you were doing this, or were they like, oh, you didn't use the right photo, or you didn't get the information correct?
I didn't get a single complaint of all the 21st posters, and I can say now that there were mistakes there. People that were on those 21st posters, like half of them weren't supposed to be there. But I didn't
Wow.
get even one complaint. All the reaction or the messages or people that called me, they just ask to have their loved ones or the families. Especially we start from the kibbutzim. There were the kibbutz Nir Oz. One of each four people from Nir Oz was either killed or kidnapped. And they organized really fast. And the first 80 people that we had on our file, on our posters, were from that kibbutz, Nir Oz. And after that, also families from the festival, from the music festival called us, and from other kibbutzim. It became like, a wheel. Like at the next 2 weeks, this is all I did. I received names, I received photos, and we changed the file. And also some of them, we got information that they were killed. So we needed to remove them from the files. It was very emotional. It was very tense, and it was very, very busy. The 2 weeks, first 2 weeks, I slept about 3 hours a night. I felt like it's the most urgent thing to do, to upload more and more people, because it started in New York, but very fast people all over the world started to download the file and to use it in cities in Europe, and really places that even that I didn't heard the name of them before.
How did you organize all of the information? Because I know you were getting it very fast. You had to make quick changes. Was there a method that you used?
We use people to help us, volunteers. And one of the most important things for me at that point was we deleted the first file, and we had just one rule. The rule was to get the information from someone that is either friend or family, not to take any information from the network, because some of the families in the beginning didn't want to be part of this. It was kind of divided. There were families that wanted to be part, and it was very, very urgent for them to be part of the campaign. And some of them were afraid that it will do something bad to negotiation. They didn't know, or they didn't want to see the faces or the photos. So we were very gentle on that. And that was the rule.
What was it that eventually got everybody on board?
It took time. It took a couple of weeks. First, families got some of them was very clear that the families, from the families, that their loved ones are hostages, because they saw videos of the Hamas, or someone saw something. So that was clear. Some of them didn't know, like they were missing. They didn't know what happened. Because of the brutal attack, they couldn't recognize the bodies. So it took time. And during those weeks, first weeks, every day we got between 10, 20, 30 pictures. And I don't know how people got my phone. I don't know how people got, like, it was,
Wow.
I was going to sleep, waking after 3 hours, and starting collecting. And also it was starting to spread around that I am the officially person that received and handling. That amazed me, because I'd never had such an experience of something that is blowing, like it's all over.
Blowing up.
Yeah.
So let's put this into perspective here. So you, on a daily basis before October 7th, were dealing with how many clients at a time about? And then after October 7th, how many people were just texting you on WhatsApp or on your personal cell phone?
My life was very, calm. I have a lot of experience. I'm not in my beginning of my career. I had time for my sport and drawing and things I like to do. And I have 3, 4, 5 clients a day. We are discussing or meeting, one meeting a day, or after the COVID, maybe 2 or 3, because some of the meetings were in the Zoom. But that was it. I didn't work at night. We have like our working hours. And at the 8th of October, it changed totally. Like I worked 24/7, even Friday and Saturday. I was sitting on the computer without no breaks, doing just that until the point where we had almost all the posters. Also, we had a lot of challenges. We had a file, we uploaded on Dropbox, and we uploaded and updated it like 3-4 times a day. Now, after 2 days, there were thousands of people trying to download this file, and it collapsed every half an hour. So we understood very fast that we need to create a website. So we did that in 24 hours. Time is critical, and it's not like these days in my professional life we create a website in few weeks or few months, even depends on the size of it. We created a website in 24 hours. We thought we will have English version, maybe 2 or 3 more languages. And then we got a lot of requests from all over the world for different kind of languages. So eventually we had 37 different languages on our website. So it changed every day. I didn't know how I'm going to start the day and how I'm going to finish it.
How did you manage all those different websites? Because everything needs to get translated. Did you just use like online services, or did you have to bring in people to translate everything that you were writing with each poster? How did that work?
We had volunteers all over the world. In each city, really, a group of people contact us. They say, guys, we see what you're doing. It's amazing. We want to be part. Everyone with his experience, we try to connect with the skills and what we need. And for the languages, people just send us the translation and we used it. And after, people will correct. Some of the people contact us and say, okay, the translation is not professional. The translation is not good enough. So they send a new one. So that was really, really work of people all over the world. And the main thing I had to do is to stay focused, because in minutes I could go like all over, with the request and the challenges, and to see what is important now or what we can do later. That was my main thing, to stay in focus all the time.
How did you manage a global team? Because what you were doing, it sounds like these are revisions. When you're working with a client, you're not going to put out mistakes if you're working for a commercial client. It seems like you were working in real time in front of the world. And then, in addition to that, now you have to manage a global volunteer team. So how did you manage all of that?
I think this is very special for Israelis all over the world. Most of the volunteers were Israelis that live abroad. And what I learned very fast, I thought we were doing it for the hostages. This was our focus. And I learned very fast that we're also doing it for the Israelis that live abroad, live all over the world, because at the first 2 days, they were sitting in front of the TV, crying and being terrified, and maybe felt guilt that they're there and not in Israel, and what can they do? And we gave them the chance to act, to fight against this horrible thing. And I think managing Israelis all over the world, it was challenging, but we came up with creating teams, and each one knew what they need to do. And another thing that I learned is a little bit to release and to give other people the opportunity to manage and to take responsibility. We have people that deal with the website, people that were dealing with the volunteers that hang at the posters. And it started just with the posters, so it was very focused on that.
It's a big lesson to learn from like an entrepreneurial standpoint that you can't be involved in every single thing personally. Like you have to learn to manage instead of do.
Yeah.
And how did that work for you?
I think this is the way I act in general. I give responsibility to my team. I think it's very important. I understand that I cannot do everything, and I think it's not right to do anything. There are a lot of skilled people, are talented people, a lot of ideas, but eventually I need to take a decision. I need to be responsible. For example, going out there with the first posters without getting any confirmation, that was a responsibility that I decided I will take on me, and that was mine. The things that were like, I was thinking to myself, oh, that's a good lesson, is when people took the files and they change it and they did their own thing and they did their own exhibitions and they change it in a way that it wasn't like perfect or like brand wise. That point I said, okay, this is a new thing. It's not important to be accurate. It doesn't have a brand book. So I had to release that part of me. When I do it professionally, it's not happening that way. And also, when we brand a company professionally, the branding belongs to the company, and the creative or the creative work is mine. Here, from the first beginning, I was saying to everyone, this is not mine campaign. This is not our campaign. This is the Israeli Jewish world campaign. It belongs to everyone. If people call me and ask, can I do this? Or you can do whatever you feel related to the message, to our efforts to bring the hostages back. If it works with that, that's fine with me.
Can you tell me about your personal connection to one of the hostages?
I started getting phone calls and messages from the families asking me to put the posters there. And because we were the first one to be there, we got all the attention, I think. And Saturday morning, I wake up very early, started to work on the campaign, getting the messages. And I got a phone call, 8 o'clock in the morning, with a woman called Dikla calling me, and she started yelling at me saying, you didn't put my father in the poster. I'm looking for you for 3 days. And she thought that we are kind of official, like we are maybe
From the government or something?
from the government. And she was crying and she said, my father, I think now is the oldest one in Gaza, is still there.
How old is he?
87. She said to me, you don't have his poster. You didn't create a poster for him. and he was kidnapped in front of my mom, and I'm here with my mom, and we don't know, and I'm looking for you. And I said to her, like, Dikla, everything is okay. Send me the pictures, send me the information, the name. We're working according to information that we're getting from you. And that was very emotional, because until that point, people that connected me were not first related families. They were friends. They were like more like not from the very, very close. And that phone call, I understood the meaning for the families of what we're doing. So that was the third thing. So the first thing was the hostages. The second thing I understood was that we're doing something for the country, of course, but also for Israel and Jewish people all over the world. And then I understood that we're doing something for the families. They feel like this is part of the direction or the way to release the loved ones. I didn't understand that in the beginning. It took a while.
Did you write a mission statement or like a purpose in order to help? Like, what did you do to help you stay focused?
Usually, when you do a professional work process,
Campaign.
you write the mission statement and you write the values and you write all the things that you need to stay in focus in order to do a good branding process. The promise, the mission statement of the company. Here it was very clear to me. It's only about releasing the hostages and doing it as fast as we can. So every time when I was in kind of dilemma, or this, I need to made a decision, is it right to do it that way, I ask myself and my team, does it connect to our aim? Does it connect to our purpose? And if the answer is yes, so we go for it. And if we feel like we're starting to going, like, for example, people ask me, why won't we talk about rape? It was part of the 7th of October disaster, and it is very important for me. But I knew very fast that if we start dealing with other messages, with other situation, each one of them is the whole world. So we will get lost. So I needed to refuse to some of the requests that I got from people trying to expand the messages, trying to expand what we're doing. And because we're working very tight, we had no budget, nobody support us. When I started it, I thought in 2 weeks I will finish the whole thing. I had no idea that will be in 121 days still with hostages in Gaza. That was like, I felt that was really insane.
Unheard of.
Yeah. So I thought, okay, 2 weeks, I will volunteer my work, my team, and we'll do. And nobody support us of course, at the beginning. And we had to stay focused, even in a practical reason.
How did you get supported to keep your business afloat?
So at the beginning, it was, for me, I didn't think about it. Lots of donations came to Israel for the military and for the families and for the kibbutzim. And I didn't think about it at all. I thought it will be fast and I will manage. After a while, I understood that that's not the case, and I'm not going to stop, of course. So we started asking for support. We put it also on our website. And also people contact us and said, we want to help. We know what you're doing. What can we do? Where can you send money? So we got some support that covered the cost of the company.
What was the lesson that you learned? I'm sure you've never had to ask for any money that wasn't an invoice.
Yeah, that was the first time for me, like, to ask for support. That was. I think that when I understood that what we're doing is so important, I think one of the women that support us, she called me and she said a sentence that helped me to continue. She said, tell me what you need in order to keep on going. And I understood, okay, we need to keep on going. We need to continue. We cannot stop, and we need to do whatever we can to do that. That gave me the not to be shy to ask for support for the work we're doing, just to cover the cost, of course. Yeah.
At what point did you realize that this was huge? This was worldwide. This was like taking over everybody knew what you were doing.
Every picture, every video we got from places all over the world, I was like, I couldn't believe the places and the where that it got and the people that went to the streets. And of course, after we saw the posters tearing out, people that were against what we're doing, we saw the engagement of donors and Jewish and people all over the world to go bigger, billboards, huge posters.
How did you even like handle, like, how did you react to seeing, like, you had all this work, you felt a certain way, you're in Israel surrounded by other people that feel the same as you, which is different from what it's like outside of Israel. What was your first initial reaction when you saw people tearing down your posters?
Wow. The first it was, I was shocked and I was furious, of course, and sad, a lot of emotions together. People started asking me, okay, tell us what to do. And I had no idea. What can we do? How can I, from Israel here, what can I do? I had no idea. But I knew there is two directions, professional. One is to do nothing. There is a statement that there's no bad advertising. So to do nothing. And the other thing is to do something and
There's
to
no
fight.
there's no such thing as bad publicity.
Yeah, bad publicity. That's right. So I thought, and I'm not sure that's always right, in my opinion. Like I think that there are things you shouldn't do, there are things you shouldn't say, or there are things you shouldn't show. But what happened while I was thinking what to do or what to suggest people to do, people started to react and they did their own thing. And it was amazing. You saw one that made a video of poster tearing and tearing at one and tearing another one after, and it's not finishing. Or there were a video of, they took all the videos of people that turned the posters away and they played it backwards. So instead of turning it, it was like they put it back away. Or there was a lady that put Vaseline on the, so it was very creative. And eventually what happened was good for us because people said, okay, they are tearing the posters, so we will act and we will go bigger and higher. And they donated and they bought these huge spaces of billboards and screens and in the Times Square. And there is a law that you cannot damage those screens. So eventually, after feeling so frustrating, I couldn't understand how people can tear children and women and innocent people out of the walls. I couldn't understand that. But eventually that was good for us because we didn't stay in the posters. We got bigger and higher and louder, but I didn't plan that.
Based on the reactions that you got, what did you learn about an effective marketing campaign?
I think that the most important thing that I learned is that you don't need to invent something new. You know, we as a creative people, we want to be unique. We want to do something new. We don't want to copy anything. And at this point, I understood that what was the success of this campaign was that we did something that people already recognize. The other thing I learned is to, as I said, to stay focused. And when you're doing a campaign like that, you all the time hear different noises. And when you're working with a big company, there are a lot of voices that want to go to different direction. And I find myself all the time reminding my clients and myself to stay focused. And the other thing is to rely on other people, to work with as a team, to put aside ego and arguments and things that is not important. And of course, emotional messaging works. You're talking to people, you're talking to families, and that work for everyone, even for the people that were against us, right?
Right, I was gonna ask you, can you just talk about how hard this hit, good or bad, whatever you thought? Like there was an extreme reaction no matter how you felt about it.
Yeah, you know, the emotional reaction was huge from all sides.
It's children. It's children. It's innocent people. Okay, what about the children in Palestine?
And when you have this kind of reaction, it makes people act in a positive way, in a in a negative way. And when people react to that, and when people play part in this kind of campaign, this is what we wanted. We wanted people not to forget the hostages. We wanted to influence. We wanted to make a difference, and we wanted to get to the decision makers, to influence them, and to put as much as we can pressure from the street up, so it won't stay quiet. And even the negative reaction did the same result.
And then the copycats started to emerge. What was your reaction to the copycat template that people used to
So
bring other messages about?
yeah, the people ask me to like change the word kidnap to terrorist, and to do like a terrorist campaign posters. And that was cute and funny. And I felt like it was amazing that it makes people be part of it. But as I said, I told people, you can do whatever you like. You can post it, you can react, you can do whatever. We cannot do it officially under the campaign.
Then the people that felt negatively towards the posters, they then took on your marketing template.
That amazed me. The most amazing thing that I saw, that they took the same design, they changed the word kidnap to occupied. And this one thing. The other thing, they put children from Gaza that were killed during the years, and they copied our website, and they did a similar website like our website, like Kidnap from Israel website, with 240 posters of children from Gaza, or they were saying that they were Gaza. I didn't go to the political questions. Is it right? Is it wrong? Are those pictures are real? They were fighting against us. They were fighting against our message, and they did whatever they could in order to give their feedback to what we did. So that was amazing. Like they said, okay, what we do? Let's put it down. Let's damage the website. Like, again, we did nothing. Really, it again put us in the focus. We achieve what we wanted when they react that way.
Attention.
And for me, I said to everyone, listen, it means that it works. This is amazing. Because if nobody reacts, if nobody does something, it means they don't care, or it doesn't work, or it doesn't get to the places it needs to get. That means that it works. So that's amazing. Let's put it aside and continue what we're doing. So this is
What
what
did
we
you
did.
learn about when did you like, is this something that you knew before, or did going through the campaign teach you about sometimes the best reaction is no reaction?
I knew it theoretically, and I use it sometimes during, debating or conversations. But this campaign, it was so clear, and I felt like I learned a lot. There were one day that I was like, didn't sleep, and the first few weeks I didn't sleep. I was tired, but I was also full of adrenaline, and I knew that this is what I need to do. I stopped everything that I did before, like I just focused on that. I had one person in my team that deal with the clients, and all the rest worked just on the campaign. And I went out of my home, like, in the morning, and then I stopped for a second. I came back to my husband and I told him, I think that all my 23 years of experience prepared me to this moment, because if I didn't had this experience, I would probably get a heart attack. It was a lot of stress, a lot of communications to deal with, a lot of decisions, so many things to deal with, that was like taking a year of activity and put it in 1 week.
At what point did you grasp the scope of your efforts, the how big this campaign was?
I had several moments when I got informations or videos, but I remember when I got the pictures from Washington. There was a huge rally for Israel in Washington. I think 280,000 people were attending.
They They called it the biggest gathering of Jews in one place
Yeah,
ever.
ever in the world.
That's
And
outside of Israel. Biggest gathering of Jews outside of Israel,
and
like from a rally.
and I saw like a rug. It didn't end of posters in the pictures, and that moment I understood how big it is. And people did like creative, like there were girls there that they took the posters and they created a coat from it, and people did a lot of creative things, but these huge rugs of posters of white, red, and a little bit black, that was the moment when I understood how big it is. And I understood that this is the face of the hostages all over the world that, at that moment. And on the other side, when I saw soldiers taking the posters in Arabic, as I mentioned, we translated the posters to 37 languages. One of the languages was Arabic, which was kind of weird to see those kind of posters in Arabic language. But they downloaded the posters, they took it to Gaza, and they hang it. And there were few posters, like two here, two there, not these huge rug of posters, but they published that they want everyone in Gaza to understand what they're doing and why they are there, and they're not coming back until all the hostages will come home. And that was also, on the other hand, a very exciting moment for me.
What were some of the most unusual places that you saw your posters hung up?
Times Square,
Wow.
I never
Wow.
to see
I
something
mean,
in the
just
Times
just
Square.
from a marketing perspective, from a business perspective, that is crazy because that is like, the dream of anybody that wants to, post something commercially. But so
Yeah.
that must have been, you didn't even expect that.
No, no, I didn't expect that. And also, as I mentioned, Gaza, I didn't expect that. There are places all over the world, Australia, places that really. And also, what was very surprising is the creativity of people. The posters gave them ideas to create their own thing, like the strollers, for example, or the tables, the Shabbat tables. They didn't end, like these huge long Shabbat tables. So people, and the balloons, the red balloon, and the shoes. These are things that they did came from us. We just gave the platform or the basics for people to do their own thing, and that made make people go out to the streets and act. So that was amazing as well.
Wait, I'd love to know what your reaction was when you saw, because this also became kind of a worldwide art installation, the Shabbat table. And part of the Shabbat table design was to take your kidnap posters and put them on every chair.
The most strong thing about the Shabbat table, and there are also two other examples for that, is 240 is a number. You don't understand how many is that. Like you understand, but when I saw the Shabbat tables and they didn't end, that was like an amazing performance to show people what does it mean. 240 people that are not coming to their Shabbat dinner or to any dinner. It didn't end. And also, we saw it when people created the on the beaches with the towels in South Africa. There is a movie that was sent it to us, and it was amazing. They took red, how do you say magavot?
Towels, towels.
Towels. Okay, so they took red towels and they put it in a line, and they it didn't end. Or there is a rabbi in London that put on all the chairs the posters, on each chair one poster, and you could see how much it is. That was amazing to me. That was the first time I understood how big it is in terms of numbers.
In Philadelphia, they did that too. They did two big Shabbat table art installations. And on the second one that they did, they went around and they kind of changed. your kidnapping posters and they wrote with a black marker "murdered," or they kind of updated it
We're
by
back home.
hand.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
because there's no new information coming out.
this is another thing we needed to see how we react to, because after the release of the hostages, during the time, every couple of days we got like an announcement that someone was murdered and is not kidnapped, or the body was kidnapped, and we needed to address that. And also after the release, there are a lot of posters all over the streets, and what to do with that. So we kind of made a mark that people could add, but people also did their own thing. They did some hearts, and they came with markers and write on the posters if it's murdered or
Released.
released. So it was very dynamic. I think this is one of the things that is unique about this, and still is in today. It's different. I must say it's different, but at the beginning, and I would say for 3 months, it was very dynamic, and we needed to react all the time to
And
what's
I saw the stickers that were posted on top, like released, released.
released or
I
back home.
I understand that it was really your campaign that helped to push the government to make a deal.
This is what I heard. Like people were addressing us and saying, because at the first 2 weeks, the hostages was not top priority in Gaza. Like they didn't talk about it as the first or the second goal or aim of the fighting. It was all about fighting. It was all about taking control of what's happening. And when they saw what's going on the streets all over the world, and then in Israel also, it really influenced. And we saw how they started talking in the news or in official press releases about the hostages. So I think that it made a lot of pressure, and that was one of the amazing impacts of this campaign. This is what we wanted from the beginning, to keep the hostages always as top priority, because it's not just numbers. There are soldiers getting killed, and this war is terrible, and it cost a lot of lives. But us as a nation, this is what we need to do. This is the first thing we need to do. Personally, I think it's high cost, but we need to use all our efforts to release them, even if it's a very high cost for us. But this is
Uh,
my personal decision,
y-
opinion.
So I mean, this is really through the efforts of all the volunteers around the world. What did you learn about the Jewish community worldwide, or their perception about, what did you learn about them? What do you think they learned about you?
I heard from the IAC in Philadelphia that one of the things that happened is reconnecting to the Jewish community again. And that was new to me, because I'm not familiar with the Jewish community all over the world, but I understood that they reconnected, they took more action, they connected to the Israeli community all over the world. And this is a very important achievement, I think, for this campaign. We didn't, again, I didn't meant it, or it wasn't in my goals, but the Jewish community helped a lot. They donated money. They helped us to go bigger and higher, and they bought a lot of spaces for us to communicate. That surprised me a lot, that this was surprising for both communities, the reconnecting again.
What did you learn about the perception of Israel around the world through the campaign?
Unfortunately, I think that we are not in a good position at all. I think that there is a huge vacuum around what's going on here. People don't understand really. There is a lot of ignorancy around the topics and the political and the situation. But I'm not a political person, and I try to avoid political issues. But for me, what amazed me and was very important, and I think about it for maybe for my future, for my professional future, is the anti-Semitism around the world. It is always there. I knew it is always there, but I didn't imagine how big it is and how powerful it is and how much we need to do in order to fight that. And I think that all the campaign and everything we did and all the situation took it out big time. We saw a lot of very difficult, we still see demonstrations. And I think I would like to continue in that point, but we'll see after we finish the situation here, and then we'll see how can I take what I learned, how can I take the impact we did and to continue, because there is a vacuum. Israel didn't work on that matter for years. And this is why we are in a situation that we started solo to communicate what's going on here. And we still do.
You mean there was no marketing campaign to explain what the country is all about, the democracy?
No, there is no. And the questions that are raised, you can see people saying, okay, there were children that were kidnapped or killed, but what about the children in Gaza? And these kind of issues, the comparison, and I'm not saying that like life of children matters everywhere, really everywhere, but the situation here that people were taking from their beds with not doing anything, civilians, we need to communicate that in a way. Like they're still trying to say it didn't happen. They're
Or
still
that it's equivalent, there's an equivalency.
they're still trying to say that things that didn't happen in that way. And I don't know why, but we are not showing, for example, we are not showing the horrible videos or the horrible pictures of what happening here. And I'm not saying we should. We are different. There is kind of humanity that we need to use, but there is a lot of work to do in order to explain the situation here and to see that the thing that happened at the 7th of October will not happen again, and to get some support from all over the world. They need to understand that what happened here, it could happen in London, it could happen in Berlin, it could happen everywhere. We saw it in New York. People get there, have a bad memory, I think.
Right. Well, a lot of college kids were not alive when 9/11 happened. You talked a lot about the connection between maybe marketing campaign to fight anti-Semitism. The WJC, the World Jewish Congress, also made a campaign. What was that like for you to see them using your posters?
Yeah, that was like, it was very important and exciting for me to see how everyone is using the posters in a way when they knew that the campaign and the posters are the face of the hostages. It was very obvious that they would use it, in order to spread out the messages.
Another thing that happened was that then these parodies started coming up, like the Israeli Saturday Night Live, Eretz Nehederet used your posters and was, can you talk, and then you were talking about Law and Order,
I know.
mentioned your posters. Can you talk about your posters in popular culture?
I think the posters became as an icon. It's not a poster anymore. Like it's more like a culture thing. It's something that is very recognized with the hostages. You say hostages, you want to say something about the hostages, you want to explain a situation, even if it's in a satiric show or order and law, you want to talk about the situation. So you show the posters and you get the whole story in a minute. This is a very unique thing. You can compare it for a second for huge companies that spend a lot of money and work for years in order to have a symbol that is recognized within. Let's take for a second Nike, okay, the swoosh of Nike. You take something, you take a color, you take a part of something, and it's started to be very recognizable. This is what happened with the posters very fast. I can show just the red strip of the kidnap, the word kidnap, and everyone knows the whole story. So it's very unique, and usually it takes a lot of money and a lot of time to do such a thing. But I think what happened here is the reason that it happened, that it was spreading all over the world, and thousands and thousands of people took part of it and did the work to expand it in a way that it became an icon.
Another thing that happened is, which people would pay a lot of money for if this was a commercial campaign, is that celebrities started taking part in it and giving their celebrity to bring attention to the cause.
Yeah, also Gal Gadot, Amy Schumacher. Celebrities knew they need to take an action, use the campaign, and use this icon in order to bring very fast the message that they are supporting Israel. And by using the campaign, it also helped the campaign to get more and more, its power and recognizable for that. So works both sides, I guess.
I mean, I'm just thinking about the scope. So like let's review. You had the posters, the volunteer kind of people on the street efforts, just putting them up and putting them up again. The videos that people took, that would be, cost so much money. Then you started getting into trucks and billboards, celebrity endorsements, the social media campaign. If this was a commercial campaign, how much would it cost?
I heard that a professional marketing expert told me that if a company would need to pay for such a campaign, it would cost about $8 to $10 million to get to this kind of huge and campaign and those billboards in the Times Square. Just a minute in the Times Square, it cost a fortune. Yeah, there are a lot of things that were like amazing in terms of numbers. For example, being online, like being up out there in 24 hours in launching a website. You don't do that in the real world. Or the 37 languages that we translated, 150 countries, thousands of citizens all over the world. That is huge. Yeah.
Yeah. What did you learn about the power of the people?
The people has the power. This campaign would not happen without people all over the world. It would stay on the computer. It would stay very small. What made this campaign is the people. People have the power to change. People have the power to make something so big as this. And without the people that went to the streets and hang the posters, this is the beginning, it wouldn't happen. It would stay, I would say, small or very local. And of course, the network and the social network that expands everything so fast, that what made it so big.
How do you use your socials to your advantage with campaigns that you have?
World changed a lot, and the social gives the power. And when you do something that is meaningful and touchable, you have the power of the people that shares everything, and that what makes it expands so big and give this huge impact. So you can use the social very smart in a smart way, but it also has its difficulties. It also has its bad sides. For example, the touring out the posters got attention in the social media much more than hanging the posters. So it goes both sides, but if you can use the social network in an organic way, that's the power.
Advice would you give to other people who want to make an impact on the world?
I think not to be afraid, first of all. That was the first thing for me. To go with your guts and your belief. I think that the feeling that I had at the 8th of October is something that I never felt before. And that what made me act. So if you got this feeling, this strong feeling, go with it. Don't fight it. I would say the focus is one of the most important things, to stay in focus and don't let noises and voices to take you to different directions. And I think to do something that is meaningful is the most powerful thing for me. For me to do something as meaningful as this was a game changing. I felt for the first time that I'm doing something that makes a difference, that is important, and we're still doing it. We are still having hostages in Gaza. We're not finishing, or we are not stopping until they come home. But the first 2 or 3 months were the powerful ones because I felt the impact.
How do you stay focused? Because you talked about the importance of being focused. while also being flexible?
Keeping a note in front of me all the time with the message, testing every question or every request according to the message. And also, the most important thing I think also is to divide between what is important and what is less important, on what we do need to do now, or it could wait for later. So it's all the time doing like scheduling and prioritizing. One of the things that I did every day, all day, is prioritizing.
You also have to balance your life. I know that was very difficult in the beginning. How do you balance your life now? I mean, this is still a huge ongoing campaign. Probably it's taking a little bit less of your time than it was in the very, very beginning. And you're also a successful business owner, family, you have interests and hobbies.
First of all, the campaign, it did what it did in a way that now we need to put less efforts in order to explain what it is. The other thing that it shifted a lot, it changed a lot. People are these days are not hanging posters anymore on the streets. Lots of reasons for that. I think the weather, for example, is one, or the feeling that it's not doing the same impact as the in the beginning, so people stop doing it. What they're doing, the action is more on the social network, on Instagram and Facebook, that can help me do some other things, go back to my clients, do some marketing for my agency, because we need to keep on going also in professional life as well.
Also, I understand that it did get into some traditional media because you had a Belgian campaign, right? And you had to how did you have to adapt the message to be able to publish?
They had different kind of rules, what they can show or what they cannot show. For example, there is a newsletter in Belgium called Politico that they wanted to do, like, some of the donors buy some space on the newspaper, but we couldn't show the pictures of the hostages. It's war against their rules. So we were supposed to do something else. And at the beginning, I was thinking to myself, how am I going to talk about the hostages without showing the faces? But we didn't want to skip the option of publishing there and to do what we can do. So we did kind of another creative, using the names, using a strong silhouette with the names inside, and to hope to have a big impact as well. But there are places that we couldn't write the word Hamas or kidnapped by Hamas. There are a lot of adaptations that we needed to do. And I was very flexible on that. I was saying to myself and to my team, they want to publish, let's give them what they need that they can publish and they can put it out there.
I know that this is a very personal campaign. How did you manage to keep your emotion out of the decisions and to always keep it professional?
It didn't work all the time, but what I did, I must say, there are times when it was tough, but I tried. I didn't, there were a lot of movies and pictures all over the network. I avoided seeing them. I asked people not to send me those pictures. I was focusing on the hostages pictures from the life before. So at that point, we didn't use pictures of the hostages after they were taken hostage. Very difficult pictures to see. And also news. I didn't watch the news. So that helped me. And when I get back home and the TV was on, then I understood that it's hard for me, because then I started to get down and stressed. So I closed the TV as much as I could.
It sounds like working on this campaign helped you cope.
Yeah, there were a lot of things, there is a war. And also, I live 60 kilometers from Gaza. So we had bombs around us also. We were running to shelter during the work on the campaign. It was also frightening. And they were bombing in Tel Aviv, also in Rishon. It's very near to us. The women's situation, the rape, thinking about women kept in Gaza, soldiers. Those things were and still difficult for me. And I tried not to think about it and tried not to see any of the information that was all over with those very difficult pictures and information. And that kept me a little bit safe, I could
Yeah.
say. But there were moments when I was talking to families, when I was talking to people from the kibbutzim, when I got information of someone that I already knew the face, knew the name, and they were telling me, you need to take him out because he was murdered. That was situations when I was like feeling very bad and sad.
These people became really personal to you.
I know almost everyone at the campaign. I know the name, I know the age. Definitely, I know the pictures. So even now, when someone send me a picture, I know if they're still hostages, if they're released, what the situation. And I feel like I'm waiting for each and every one of them to come back home. And the stories, that each one of them is a story of the families, they have mothers and fathers, or some of the families that came back, the children and the mothers, the father is still there. It's heartbreaking.
And
So
I'm
it's
sure you've
very
spoken
personal.
with the families because they are in contact with you.
Some of them are in contact or friends. I met his mother also and spoke to her. So it's very personal for me. It's very personal, and I feel like I can go back to my life when it's over.
I feel like, though, because of you, you are the one that made it personal to everybody around the world.
I would say it's not just me. We created the posters and the creative work, but who made this campaign is people all over the world. And the volunteers, I couldn't do it alone. And the impact was because of the people all over the world who went to the streets, went out there, hang the posters, and did the hard work. So maybe I made it personal for them, but they made it personal for the world to learn, to understand, and to keep on recognizing. The thing is that each poster is a person. It's a
Yeah.
story. So this is the thing.
How has the campaign changed your life?
Well, I think I don't know yet. First of all, I met a lot of people that I would never meet. I expand my network a lot. I met wonderful people all over the world. The second thing is that I'm not afraid to do things, to dream and to do. I would never think that I would talk, interview, lecture. People ask me to lecture about it's not my comfort zone at all. Even talking to you now, it's not like this is what I'm used to do. I never did it before.
You're
And
doing amazing.
thank you. So I'm learning, and a lot of these things are not my comfort zone as well. I think the most important thing for me that I learned or changed my life is that I think even from now on, I want to do something that makes a difference. I don't know how, I don't know why, I don't know, but I know that I can do something that makes difference, and I need to figure out how to do it, in what scale. But there is more to do. And the thing that makes you happy in life is when you do something that is meaningful. I learned it in this campaign. Getting up in the morning and doing something that means something. That is the most important thing for me now.
Are you kind of living in this kind of no man's land? Like, I feel like, I don't know, until the hostages are returned, obviously this is a big part of your life. So where are you with that?
I feel like in a waiting, I feel like I cannot continue to the next chapter without finishing this one. We started something, and these days are very difficult because we can do less and less. It's not in our hands anymore. It's not like if we redesign the posters or do another billboard, it will make the difference. No, now it's in the hands of the Hamas and Qatar and our government to finish this thing and to make a deal and to bring those people home. And then we have a lot of work to do to rebuild what is damaged. And each day and each hour is critical. They don't have food, weather is bad, all the conditions are bad, there is a war there. We see the pictures, they're getting thinner and thinner and thinner. They're hungry, they're wounded. We must bring them home fast and now. And until this situation is solved, I feel like I cannot continue with my life the way they were before. So I'm still in it, but I also feel a little bit frustrated because it's not in our hand anymore.
What do you imagine when you think about the day when all the hostages are home?
On one thing, it will bring a lot of relief for me and for the country to see them home. It's not solved yet. But on the other hand, the day after won't be a happy day because there is a lot of damage, wounded family, horrible situation here. The political situation is not solved. Gaza situation is not solved. And we need great minds and wonderful people to take part to help this country to go to the future in a positive way and to help the families. There is a lot to do. And I think we need new people to take part, to be in charge, and to help this country to heal, to go to the future. And it will take time. I think it will take years. And I hope I can take part. But first of all, the hostages need to come back.
Yeah, I'm hearing like a hopefulness mixed with sadness in your voice.
Yeah, I'm very sad because I think it shouldn't happen to us what happened. I think we are responsible for what happened. I'm talking in general. And
What do
we
you
are responsible for the families and for the hostages there. We're in a political situation that made us, in my personal opinion, weak and not prepared. And each and every one of us need to think about his role in this situation because we are an amazing country. There are amazing people here, and we saw it also in my personal perspective of the campaign. But I saw all over. I saw people volunteering for the soldiers and for the families, and we are amazing country, and we need to keep it that way. We need to keep it in a way that we won't give people the chance to ruin it. Both sides, people that want war, people that the ego is very big. And I'm sad because I feel like there is a lot to do and I'm trying to stay positive, but it's a challenge.
What's the message to the world?
Oh, I don't know. I'm not in a position to give a message to the world.
How about from a business perspective? Because let's keep this focused on this is such a successful marketing campaign.
One of the most important, or that I learned, is that you don't need to go so far to find the solution. Sometimes it's really out there. You just need to be focused on your message and to find the direction and the way how to expand it. So you don't need to invent the wheel. Sometimes simplicity is the solution. Startup in Israel and entrepreneurs and startup are doing amazing things in inventing stuff. But sometimes to keep it simple, like a piece of paper and masking tape can do the whole thing.
How I can see in the future how your campaign is going to end up in college textbooks about marketing and about guerrilla campaigns. I mean, and it still is going, is huge, and it's a huge case study. Tal, Hugh, thank you so much for joining me and for taking all this time. If anybody wants to learn more about Giraffe Visual Communications, we'll put the link in the description. And I really appreciate you taking the time to speak with us because I think people will be studying you in school and then like looking up like how did you come up with it? What's the story behind it? Because it's reaching. It's just from a business perspective, it is so fascinating what you were able to accomplish.
Thank you so much. And it was amazing talking to you, telling the story. And I hope we can put it in the paper of history very soon to close our Instagram account. This is what I want to do, to close our Instagram account. Kidnap from Israel. Kidnap from
Israel.
Yeah,
Kidnap
and
from
these days we are doing the most of the activity is there. So Kidnap from Israel in the Instagram and in the Facebook. And what we want to do, the social team and me, is to close it as fast as we can.